YouTube, it's your girl Razia J, and I'm back with another video. If this is your first time landing on my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am glad that you are here, and if you have been rocking with Ray, thank you so much for your continual support. It means the world to me. I say this every single video because it is the absolute truth. Without you guys, there would be no me. Well, there will be a me, but there would be no YouTube channel. There would be no content creating. There would be no me sitting on this mustard chair and recording this video. There will be none of this. There will be no lights. There will be no camera. There will be no action. It will just be Razia doing her regular life as a social worker. I wanted to come in really quickly and just share some research that I have been doing. I know a lot of times people ask me, what are some jobs that you can land as a social worker? And although I could easily say, hey, just Google that and find out, I really wanted to take the time out today to just explore that with you. Explore what some jobs in the profession looks like. So I do have my notes because you guys know I don't do anything without notes. When it comes to telling people about specific things, unless if I'm speaking from my heart or from real life experience, I'm not just going to come and shoot things off the dome. I have a lot of words and I have the gift of gab, but I don't have the gift of, BSing folks. So I do have a list right here of some jobs that social workers can do, and I am going to share that with you. So if you are a social work student or if you are a social worker, stay tuned on, I think, about 30 jobs that you can do as a social worker. So first we're going to start with macro. I know we usually start with micro, but I'm a macro social worker, and this is a field, this is an area, a sphere, a niche that I understand. So we're going to start there. So first and foremost, as a macro social worker, you can work in so many places in non-traditional ways. So you can do jobs such as myself. You can be an engagement coordinator. You can be a policy director. You can be a policy coordinator. You can be a community activist. You can be a human resource social worker. You can be a developmental officer. You can be a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. You can be a small business owner. You can be an entrepreneur. You could be a grant writer. You could be a policymaker. You could be a personal trainer. I know social workers that are in social work and personal training. You can be a lobbyist. You can be an author. You can be a CEO of an agency. You can be an executive director of a nonprofit. You can be a C-suite executive at a nonprofit, a for-profit, the government sector. You can do a lot in the macro space. You can be a community development worker. You can be a community program administrator. You can be a community organizer. You can be a coalition leader. And you can also be an employee assistant worker. Like, you can work with people that are on unemployment and help them to secure employment. You can also work in education as a macro social worker. This is not really micro or macro. This is administrative and education. Like, you can be a professor. You can be a special education social worker. You can be a school social worker. You can be a youth development social worker. You can be a teacher if you desire, right? You can be a professor. You could be a dean. You can be a associate director of a higher education program, right? You can work with Title V schools. You can do so much as a social worker. If you want to do like micro stuff, you can do mental health. You can be a clinical social worker. You can be a clinical supervisor. You can be a case manager. You can be a marriage and family social worker. You can be a substance abuse counselor. You can be a gambling addiction social worker. You can be a psychiatric social worker. You can be a hospice social worker. You can be an oncology social worker. You can be a travel social worker. These are all jobs that you can do in the micro space. If you want to be in like the Mezzo space, some of the things that you can do is you can be like an international social worker. You can be an employment counselor. You can be a forensic social worker. You can be a reentry social worker. You can be a military social worker. You can be a prisoner reentry social worker. You can be a child abuse investigator. You can be an adoption social worker. You can be a juvenile and delinquent social worker. And if you want to do medical and health profession things, you can be a private practice social worker. You can be a preventative specialist social worker. You can be a rehab social worker. You can be a palliative care social worker, aka hospice. Or is that a little bit different from hospice? You can be a world health social worker. You can be a nursing home social worker. You can be a public health social worker. You can be an ER social worker. When it comes to social work, there is so many jobs that you can do, and I can list out jobs that I don't even need to do research on, right? I know social workers that are working in the prison system. They are literally doing mental health therapeutic services within the prison system, right? I know social workers that are they're like community development social workers, right? I know social workers that are just in curriculum development, that they're just creating curriculum for programs, and they're creating curriculums for CEUs, they're creating curriculum for other social work programs, right? I know social workers that are 100% entrepreneurs, and they're running group practices, but they're really not doing the clinical work. I stress this in most of my videos, that as a social worker, you can do a lot. Do not limit yourself. Explore the profession as you will and as you should. Educate yourself on the things that you like and you love. Find your passion and go after it relentlessly. I'm telling you, there's so much that you can do in the profession if you just give yourself a break and explore. So I hope this video found you well. And until next time, bye.